Welcome to a different video. I'm here with world famous Lenny Magill, a man whose name I knew long before I really knew how to shoot well, because you've had so much influence on the industry, particularly on the Glock world.
Wow, thank you, okay.
It's true. So you walk around the halls, this is a beautiful new, let's see, 2024 you moved here?
No, 2020, we actually opened the store, 2020,
Okay.
21. So we've been in this building for about 5 years.
Well, it's a beautiful, giant facility in Tennessee, because Tennessee is a bit more free than California, which I understand. I also fled California, so
Nashville, Tennessee is, in fact, it's a destination for a lot of people, and we're just like 2 miles from the airport. We get a lot of people coming and going and drop in the store. Plus, we're just off the major freeways.
yeah.
And I mean, people come and they say, "Well, we're driving down to Florida. Oh, we're driving to Ohio. We're come this way, that way," and they all drop in. So we're inviting everybody to drop into the store in Nashville.
And you've got it's a retail location. You've got beautiful ranges, and then is there also manufacturing going on here?
Yeah, we've got the a machine shop back here that we actually build parts and pieces. We have assembly and all that, of course. And then we ship packages. We ship about 1,000, 1,200 packages a day.
Wow. Yeah, I did notice the shipping time for me in Oregon has gotten a little bit slower than it used to be when you're in California. But anyways, as many of my viewers know, I bought a Glock 19 when I was first getting into handguns, because you walk into a store and that's what a gun shop says, and for good reasons. It's a good general size, general gun, ultra reliable, super simple, easy to tinker with. I had some things I didn't quite like, even though I didn't really know shooting yet. There were things that I thought some of the ergonomics, some of the way that things felt could be a little bit different. And that's when I discovered Glock Store and began the double diamond connector, the pyramid triggers, trying different mag wells, going through all these different parts and tweaking. And it's one of the things that I loved about the Glock platform was it was easy enough to learn how to do that.
Well, there's only 27 parts, really.
Yeah.
So and what's really interesting about the Glock is once you take it apart and you look at it, you go, I get it.
Yes.
I get it. Okay, wow, this is simple, and it is simple, and it's amazing. It's an engineering marvel, compared to the 1911 or a SIG. A SIG. You take a SIG apart and putting it back together. It's a tough part.
Yeah. The FCU is so easy. Oh.
Boing. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of parts, and so the old, back in the old days, I remember, a lot of the gunsmiths would say, people come into the store with a bag of their gun. Please put this back together. But the Glock is simple, and that's the key thing is you could do most of that work yourself, and I still believe the Glock has the best grip angle, and it is the most pointable gun and the most accurate gun for an inexperienced shooter because of the grip angle, and because of the relationship of the grip and the bore. It's closer to your finger than any other gun. And I don't know if you ever thought about that, but the way that the Glock sits in your hand, the barrel is closer to your finger to be pointable. This is that new 26X. It's empty, but basically the way that the bore of the gun and the beaver tail back there, you're closer to that bore with your finger pointing than any other gun, and that really gives you the ability to point this gun. So we've, over the years, we've had brand new shooters, never shot before, put a SIG in their hand, put a 1911 in their hand, put a Glock in their hand. They're all more accurate right out of the gate with a Glock. Now, you can train yourself to shoot all those other guns.
Yeah.
1911, the bore sits a little higher. Same with a SIG, it sits a little higher. So typically, we'll see a lot of people with the 1911. You come up, instead of keeping your wrist straight like you do with a Glock, you cock your wrist a little bit to get those sights to be level.
Yeah.
So all the 1911 shooters, when you transition to a Glock, shoot the gun high because they're used to doing that versus that. And it's a real subtle thing, but it's like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but when you point the Glock, it's much more ergonomic. It's just like you're pointing your finger. And so I always tell people, if you put a laser beam on your finger, you could point at anything and anybody and be really accurate because it's just so natural. We do this all the time. Hey,
our whole lives we've been.
Yeah, hey you.
Before speaking, it was pointing.
Yeah,
to things,
right. Boom. And so that's why the Glock is the most popular handgun in the world, because it's easy to put into anybody's hand and they can be relatively accurate. Now, the other thing too is, people always complain about not having a manual safety, and I think Gaston Glock, and when in my research and studies over the years, he designed it without a manual safety because what they found in a stress situation, when someone pulls a gun out if they don't practice a lot, they will forget to take the safety off. They'll point the gun and not be able to fire it.
Yeah.
So you really have to practice releasing that manual safety. So the 1911 guys, boom, boom, boom. Even that beaver tail grip safety, a lot of guys pin that because sometimes you don't have that full grip on it.
Yeah.
And you don't depress it. So, Glock was really smart when he thought about this, and he said, who's going to use this gun? Well, this is a military gun, is what he really designed it for. And he realized that these military guys may not have a lot of training. They don't really get a lot of training, quote unquote.
Absolutely.
Shooters, people who shoot, competition shooters, are much more trained than most of your average law enforcement person, and or military person, because they shoot. Whereas the law enforcement guy trains and maybe qualifies twice a year. If he's not really into guns, he's not going to be a great shooter.
Yeah, so I spent 15 years active duty. Went to Afghanistan, went to Iraq, was an armorer for a few of those years. Spent a lot of time trying to train. It was mostly officers that use handguns.
Right.
But ironically, and this is one of those things that maybe aged really well or didn't age well at all. Back in 2017, I had a mock interview with another YouTube friend of mine, Dan the Firearm Guy, and we just decided, pro and con, let's debate the 320 being adopted. And one of my biggest arguments, coming fresh out of 15 years of active Army, was that there's not enough quality training with handguns for a trigger system like that on the 320. Audience, you guys can judge how that aged.
Well, the 320 has its issues, so, and that's why Glock recently pulled all of the acro guns, the not acro but the Koa guns off the market because they're focusing on the law enforcement market. So and military as well. So I believe that most of the special forces guys are transitioning to the Glock 19 Koa.
Now those guys get good training.
The special forces guys, they shoot. It's just like the SWAT guys. They shoot a lot. So they're on a whole nother level. With their training and their skill set. But the average guy, the average person, doesn't get enough, and unless you're really into it. And so it's just like any other hobby. If you're into it, you get to be really good.
Speaking of what Lenny's been holding here is this 26X, which if you go to any listing of Glock handgun sizes, you may be wondering what's going on. I find this fascinating. Why don't you explain to folks what we've got?
Well, there's a couple things I want to say about the 26X. One is not a Glock product. Okay, it's really important. It's a Glock Store product. It's designed and made by us here in the USA. What we did is we actually made a 19 style size grip that accepts a 26 upper. Now, it could be a 26, 27, 33, 28 even. So it's the mini upper that fits on the mid-size frame. So you have a full-size grip, which is in essence the same profile as a 43X, but it's double stack, gives you something to hold on to. 43X has been a great gun. We sell a ton of them. People really like them. It's been one of Glock's most popular products. 19 is still probably the most popular handgun in the world, but the 43X is really close. So what we found is that the 43X is just not a good shooter. It doesn't feel good when you shoot. It's kind of snappy, and it's hard to hold on to, and it's hard to be accurate, not just the first shot, but multiple shots when you shoot fast and and you don't want to be aggressive shooting. The gun's jumping all over the place. And so this double stack Glock 19 style frame that accepts the mini upper is the answer, because it gives you something to really hold on to so you can drive it 15 rounds, another advantage. And it's designed really for people who have a 26 or a 27 or a 33 and don't like the little grip, which is mostly everybody.
It's my audience to see, because I've got banana hands, and I had scars from Glock 19 times because I'd always pinch my pinky on reloads until low profile magwells started to become a thing, and then I could safely do a reload.
Well, yeah, because they actually do force your hand up and get you some
a little bit of
protect
space.
that meat there.
It's interesting. We were mentioned this earlier off camera. We had the single stack 9 crates because they were super slim and light. Then the micro 9s came out, and everyone's like, oh, more capacity, but they're still thin, and physics is physics. So the total surface area of the gun is going to be where that force of recoil is applied into your hand.
Right.
If you go a little bit wider and increase that surface area, not only do you have more traction, but you've got better recoil distribution, and it makes for just a more natural shooting. And seeing subcompacts and compacts kind of have come back full circle.
Yes.
Even some of those micro compact models, the gun makers are now making a bigger and a bigger and a bigger version. And
very interesting. You really broke it down in a nice way, because you're right. You have more to hold on to, more surface area, more distribution of recoil and all that. The other neat thing about the 26 size is that the cycle is shorter. And because it's shorter, you can get back on target quicker with your red dot. And that was one of the things that we really noticed, is that people who are shooting dots felt that it was just a faster experience. They're able to see that dot faster. And I think the shorter stroke of the shorter guide rod is what makes that happen.
Yeah, and there's in lots of reviews I've done of all the different slide lengths, you get to like a 5-inch 9mm is kind of a fun gallop. And when you get in the rhythm of that, it's great for competition. Of course, it's a little bit big for carry. And then there's the mid-size where things can be jarring. And when you go short enough, it's so quick that you don't have really time for it to be too disruptive if you've got good grip.
Right.
Which on a micro compact, that's with the dangling pinky, and you end up with, it feels jarring and it feels flippy. But with this 19X, being able to get your whole hand on the gun.
Yeah, that's you nailed it. I mean, that's exactly right. We put a nice texture on here. This is probably one of the best things ever made. I'm really proud of it. So we just started shipping them this week.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It is truly a great experience, and we've got a lot of orders. So I mean,
and when I took a look on the site, you can get a strip frame. Right, and can you get a complete firearm currently, or
not yet? We're going to be we're creating an upper. I don't think Glock wants me to sell a complete firearm with their
using their
slide.
Okay, yeah.
So we're developing all the parts aftermarket that will be a full firearm in probably the second quarter of 26.
So
year.
If folks currently have a 26 that they've maybe forgotten about over
Right.
time, they can take that slide and those internals, slap it in, put that on your frame and be functional, right?
That is the exact reason I built it, because there's so many 26s out there that people aren't shooting. Just like you said, they got it. It was a good idea, but I hate shooting that thing.
Yeah, the dangling finger and it's flippy.
It's clunky, it's top heavy and all that. So you can take your parts from your 26, 27, 33, or 28, which is not a lot of those around, but really the 26, 27 are the most popular, and digest them directly into the frame. The slide will fit directly on top here. And it's cross-generational. Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So one of the things we discovered is that you don't need this hole right here. So the true production models, this is one of the original prototypes, the true production models only have one pin, which is the trigger pin itself. And then of course the trigger housing pin. But we eliminated the locking block pin because you don't need it, even with a Gen 3. So a lot of people think that spring rests under that locking block pin, and it does. But we tested it thoroughly, and you don't need that pin. It'll actually get enough spring pressure with Gen 3 parts onto the locking block itself.
Interesting.
Yeah, how about that?
Now, it's been a minute since I've pulled a Glock apart, but isn't the spring for the slide lock release lever also pressing up against that pin?
The slide lock is the takedown lever. Okay, that's a separate deal.
No, the
slide stop.
Or stops, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. I always get mistaken. Yeah. So the slide stop is supposed to, it does rest on that pin, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
I mean, literally, here's what happened. We built this thing and we thought, okay, well, all the Gen 3 people, and then of course there's a lot of Gen 5s out there as well, and we thought, well, you know what, let's try, because if you have a Gen 5, you don't need that pin.
Okay.
Gen 5, it'll fit, but you don't really need it. But because Glock doesn't use it, because they use a different style slide stop. It's ambidextrous. Remember, it has the horseshoe shape.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have that spring, that roll pin spring that comes around and intersects with that pin.
Yeah.
So we decided to try it without the pin, and lo and behold, it works. The other thing that's really interesting too is that you can use a ambidextrous slide stop with a Gen 3.
Wow. So
Slide.
it's really a great
Even though it
opportunity.
doesn't have the notch. And that's what's baffling to me, because it still works.
Because it catches on the left side of the slide.
Catches here.
Yeah, most of the ambi.
The Gen 5 has a notch over here, but you don't need the notch.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of people think, oh, well, it's not going to work, but it does.
Yeah,
It works
because
great.
in the modern been through 500 handgun reviews. Almost all of the modern ambi slide lock release setups, it's only catching on the left side. And one of the things that I love testing is from the right side, does it really work or not? Because what ends up happening is the catch is on the left and you're pushing on a lever on the right, and if there's any torsion there,
right,
you end up with either being really difficult or not functioning. But
right,
like I said, I've been out of the Glock world for so long, I haven't done anything with the Gen 5s or any of the newer stuff, which...
We're going to have to get you back in.
Yeah, I might be. Yeah, and I still have my 2012 or 2013, maybe 2011 pyramid trigger in a 34 that I was running in competition and all that.
Well, good. So yeah, but we're excited about this, and and the market, of course, is showing us that this is a good idea because we've sold a lot of them, thousands of them, and it's going to continue. And as we develop this into a full gun, it'll be even better.
That's awesome. The YouTube, of course, doesn't let me link direct to, but I'm sure, and I can't even say websites of things that sell things, but I'm sure you guys understand Glock Store is what you would be searching for, probably using YouTube's parent company, who has no problem with you typing those things in.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Because we get, we've been flagged for just saying, little things. That make no sense at all. But hey, we play the game. I don't know who's making the algorithms up there or who's making those decisions, but it's kind of crazy. And we try to play by the rules. And sometimes we get banned for we were banned for 3 months one time.
Jeez.
And then came back. So we try to be, good stewards, but
yeah,
it's crazy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, that's excellent. What? I am definitely seeing this as a destination place to visit between the store and the ranges. And can people come and get training? I saw you hold USPSA events.
Yeah, every second Saturday, I believe, we do a USPSA. The fourth Saturday of the month, we do a low light shooting thing.
Nice.
It's really cool. Guys come in, fully decked out with the the nods and the nads and the nods and all that stuff, and they're just literally they're wearing the helmets and they probably have $20,000 worth of gear on.
Yeah, of course.
But we turn the lights out.
Yeah.
And we have control of those rooms. So these are combat rooms. They're not lanes. We don't shoot down lanes. We shoot in these combat rooms, or shoot rooms we call them, and we can move targets around, and we can build rooms and hallways, and we do a lot of fun things that you can't do in a lane range.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing too is that I found is when you go to a lane range, you've got people shooting next to you who you don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's not that comfortable. Plus, you try to teach someone to shoot in that environment. There's all this noise, and guys next to you's got a 44 Magnum, and the person you're trying to teach is like all freaked out.
Yeah.
So they don't really learn anything. So our rooms are private. It's more. I always tell people like this: it's more like a Pilates studio versus a family fitness center.
Okay.
So you go in, you have a trainer, and they say, "Well, where's your skill level?" "Well, you're brand new. Okay, let's start here." "Oh, I've shot a lot, and I do a little bit of competition." "Okay, well, let's take you over here. We'll get you. We'll ramp you up a little bit faster, and so we can draw from concealment. We can move and shoot. We can do reloads. You can shoot around corners. You can use lasers and lights. You can dim the lights. You can. It's really dynamic, and it's really based upon you as an individual, as to what your skill level is, and how do we want to take you to that next level. And so we get all kinds of people in here. Your wedding parties, because Nashville is actually, I don't know if you know this, is like the bridesmaid capital of the world.
Oh.
If you go downtown on a Friday or Saturday night, you're going to see 20 or 30 bridesmaid parties. There's just groups of girls, running around and celebrating one of their friends getting married.
Huh.
But this is like a wedding capital of the world. People come here and do their weddings here. If you try to book a wedding here, it's like 2 years in advance.
Jeez.
For all the venues. They've got farm venues, and they've got all kinds of different places to get married, but it's really quite a business. So we get wedding parties here. We get moms with their kids and moms and dads with their kids. We've had the realtor group here. A bunch of realtors want to learn how to shoot and all that. People who've never shot before, but we also have the high end guys who are training with some of our top guys who are masterclass USPSA shooters who want to get better.
Yeah.
Who want to go to the USPSA Nationals, and our guys have been there. They know what's going on. They're going to take them to that level and train in a way that's not just shooting down a lane.
Yes.
And the best part is it's air conditioned.
Which
And
you
we
need
have-
in Tennessee.
and we have bathrooms, and we have bathrooms, and you can wash your hands, so it's not like out in the boonies,
Yeah.
So it's really a neat area, and plus we're just 2 miles from the airport, so it's convenient for people to come here. So it's different, Now the lane range shooting is, it's got its place for people. But I never really liked it personally, and so that's why I started these shoot rooms, and they're really unique. I don't think there's anybody else doing what we do.
Well, and plus, simple business math. When a range opens, it needs to make the most out of that square footage, and so the lanes system for a range only is how they can do it. Here, you've got Glock Store and all the accessories and things, and so you have the opportunity to make a shoot room that can have a dedicated group of people, and that space can be used for real training. And then as a major accessory and aftermarket, system improvement thing, it's a chance to go test stuff.
Well, that's what,
things.
in fact, it's funny you say that, because when we were in San Diego, we were in a building, and there was a room, and I wanted a place to shoot. So I used to, develop parts, and I'd go down to Discount Gun Mart down in San Diego. He was kind of a friend of mine, and we were buddies. And so I'd go down and use his range. He had lane range, and I would go into the store, into the range, and get away from the lanes, and kind of go into the whole thing and do some stuff, do some videos there. And he was very nice. Always let me go in. And a couple times, I'd be there, and I wasn't quite finished with a video or something I was doing, and he wanted to open up. He basically he kind of got mad. Hey, get out of here! I got people who want to shoot, because that's how he makes money.
Yeah.
So after a while, it got to be, cumbersome. And so I said, okay, let me open this little room. So I opened literally a shoot room that was maybe this big, maybe twice as big as this.
I think you made videos in those, because I remember seeing
was
videos
tiny.
of you in a very small room, but you could shoot in multiple directions.
And what was interesting is we had a tiny little walk-up store, that we kind of, carved out of the building. And because we were doing mostly mail order, then, as we got the pieces and parts going, people would, drive in and say, hey, can I buy this? And we didn't really have a retail store. So we opened a tiny little store. People walked in, and then I was in the back shooting, and people said, hey, can I shoot? So people started shooting in the room. Then we got some instructors, and they shot some more. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is busy. So we moved to another building in San Diego. And we were there, I don't think, for 4 years, 5 years? And we just blew out of that building. The ranges became very popular. All of a sudden, the internet was huge. And so it was like, okay, what are we going to do? And that was 2016, 17, and my wife was like, let's get out of California. So my wife
Understandable.
she had the premonition, like, okay, and so we started looking. We went to Nashville, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and literally looking at real estate, looking at housing and all that stuff, and then finally we kind of stumbled onto Nashville one day, and my wife's from Georgia, and so it's close, and so we kind of said, okay, yeah, Nashville's cool, and then all of a sudden there's like no sales, no state tax. That was cool. Plus, the state actually encouraged us to move and paid us to move here as a business. They said, if you hire X amount of people, we're going to give you X amount of dollars back. So it's been amazing. I mean, Tennessee compared to California, the way they do business, and the attitude towards business. In California, you are the evil employer.
Yeah.
No matter what, you're just, there's something wrong. You're doing something wrong. And they would fine you and fee you and penalize you. And here, they are glad to have you here, glad to have you employing people, and no matter what business it is. And so it was really a fresh start here in Tennessee, and it's been probably the best thing we ever did. I don't miss the beach. I do miss a little bit of the weather, but I like the seasons, and it rains here, and so
I mean, I'm from Oregon, so
water's free.
Yeah.
In California, you got to pay for it a lot.
Critical shortage of imported water.
So it's been a good thing for us.
Awesome.
Tennessee.
Well, I recommend if you're passing through the area, you might want to have a change of clothes for shooting at an indoor range, but even a layover, because the Nashville airport is just right there.
We get a lot of people coming in. We encourage people to come in. A lot of people, they'll get here, they'll fly in at 11 o'clock. The room's not available till 3, the check-in. So they, just stop here.
Yeah.
People come with their luggage all the time.
It is a really, really cool destination, even as I freely admit it. I've been out of Glocks for a while, but I'm still excited to be here and see it, just because the history and the official and unofficial advocacy that you and Glock Store have done for shooters the current aftermarket world that so many shooters take for granted started, as far as I know, largely with Glock Store products and Glock Store options.
Yeah, I think I would say that I was on the forefront of that way back then. And the reason is that I was doing the videos. I was in the video business. And a lot of the videos I did were with Bill Wilson, who was the 1911 guy.
Yeah.
And
a few more parts.
Jim Clark, and Mike Plaxco, and just a whole slew of these really top-notch shooters. And Bill Wilson, I was just looking at his business model for 1911s, and I thought, wow, we could probably do that with that Glock. And so that was really, the impetus. And so we started doing pieces and parts, and it has grown into a significant business, and it's been a good thing. And we hope it's going to get bigger and bigger. I do believe that the Glock is actually becoming more popular than it was before. It kind of had this huge thing here, and it kind of dropped off a little bit, but I think it's coming back in a big way. And a lot of people are going back to it because one, is so simple, and two, the other thing about Glock, what's really interesting. Now, we talked off camera just a little bit about Glock being kind of, just stuck in the same spot. But the one thing about Glock, which is amazing, is I can take a Glock Gen 1 magazine and put it into a Gen 5 and it's going to work.
Yeah.
Or I can take a Gen 5 magazine, put it into a Glock Gen 1, it's going to work.
Yeah.
So the parts and pieces are interchangeable in many ways. Not all of them, but many of them. A lot of things will work, and so they support themselves, whereas like a SIG, they'll introduce a model, comes out, it's all hot and heavy, and 3 years later they discontinue it, there's nothing available.
Yeah. Oh, yep.
You can't do it, it's like, well, you can't get anything. So Glock really positioned themselves as a long-term deal. And it's basically the same gun as it was back in 1989.
Yeah, and that's how I jokingly taunt the audience a bit sometimes. I say, well, yeah, it's a great classic firearm, which is true, but just like any other classic, that doesn't mean it's not good now.
Well, we understand now. We don't know for sure, but from what we're hearing from our distributors, that the Gen 6 is coming.
Finger grooves again? Oh,
no.
Joking.
But we think it's going to be like a fire control unit or insert type concept, just like SIG's FCU. So we're not sure, but and again, Glock is never one to tell anybody anything. It just happens.
Yeah.
And same thing with the AR-15. Glock has long been rumored to have an AR-15, and we now have some proof that it's out there. They're overseas, that's for sure. There's people testing them. There's people shooting them. There's a couple law enforcement or military units carrying them. Yeah, we've got photos, so we know that they're out there. So we don't know if they're going to come to the States or not, but it's definitely, they are innovating, and they are definitely, exciting to us, because anybody who's got a Glock is going to buy a Glock AR-15.
Likely,
I want one. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the time. I appreciate this. Has been an awesome opportunity. If there are folks out there who don't know who Lenny Magill is, do some research, and this will soak in a little bit more. But the Glock Store, you've got to have heard of. I know. I mean, heck, just recently I had. I got the binary set up from Franklin Armory. Okay. And I needed a frame. Oh. And this is one of the few places that I know of where you can buy a stripped Glock factory frame.
How about that? Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I've been doing in this business for now almost 40 years. Yeah. So I look back and I think, wow, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it really has. I've done a lot of neat stuff, and the video thing was fun. Glock thing is a lot of fun, and now the next level is really coming up with our own handgun that's next. So we're excited. We're happy that people support us, and we always try to keep in mind that it's all customer based. We want to take care of our customers. We're busy. We get to everybody, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time. We really have the need of our customers in mind, and we want to make sure we take good care of them and take care of everybody. So thank you all for watching and being part of this, and lots of great stuff coming.
Thanks.